This is my hiking backpack, and today I'm going to show you what's inside. Let's get it unpacked. So this is everything that I pack into that backpack. Let me organize things a little bit and then I'll go into detail into what everything is. That's much better. All of this fits inside of that one backpack, and in a minute I'll show you how everything goes back in there. But first, let me go into detail into what everything is and why I bring it with me. So the first thing I want to talk about is the pack itself. Now, each backpack is going to be completely different. It's going to have compartments in different places. It's going to have zippers all over the place, but what they all pretty much have in common is that they all have a space on the inside for the bladder. At least most of them do. So you open up the front flap, and there it is. There's a little compartment here. I have a 3-liter Camelback bladder, and I have the hose here fed to the front of the backpack so that when I'm hiking, I can actually get a drink of water without having to open up the backpack. So starting from left to right, the biggest thing is going to be the tent. This is what's going to take up the most room and weight inside of your backpack, other than the water, which is the most dense. Ultralight backpackers like to carry something a little smaller than this, but I carry the bigger one because I usually hike with more than one person, so I like for everybody to be comfortable. I also carry some extra tent stakes just in case. This, of course, is my sleeping bag. It squeezes nicely into the small bag, but if you don't have the bag, you can actually just squeeze it right into the bottom compartment of the backpack. That's what it's made for. And for a little bit of extra comfort, I always carry this blow-up mattress. I know it's a bit unnecessary, but I like to travel with a little bit of comfort, so I'd rather carry the extra weight and just be a little bit more comfortable at night. Now this I don't normally carry with me, but I brought it with me just to show you that I have a hammock system. So it needs the straps, the hammock itself, the rain cover, and then a mosquito net because I live in Florida and this is an absolute necessity. Now this little bag up here is the rain cover for the backpack itself. So when it's raining, it covers the entire backpack so none of your stuff gets wet. Now moving on to the food section of the pack, this is the pot that I use to cook my food in. Inside here there is a little propane tank and a backpacking stove that I carry with me. It's really small, really compact, doesn't weigh that much, and it works like a charm. So what I do for food is I boil some water in this pot and then I pour it into these containers of Mountain House, which are just freeze-dried food. They're available at Amazon, Walmart, pretty much anywhere where they sell camping equipment. Again, links are in the description down below. Basically, you just boil water, pour it in here, seal it, and then about 9 minutes later, you have a really amazing meal. So that's why I get these a lot. I'm gonna make a future video on how to freeze dry your own food so you can avoid the expense of Mountain Houses. But for now, this is what I stick with. Next is beef jerky. This is very important for on the trail. Now for quick snacks along the trail, and sometimes I even use them for lunch, I carry these Cliff Bars, these Chewy Bars, and the Slim Jims. If you guys notice, there's a few clean shirts here. Normally I carry a little bit more spare clothes with me, but I needed to save some space. So today I didn't hike with a lot of extra clothes. Usually I carry 2 shirts, 2 underwear, 2 pairs of socks. This is an absolute must-have. This is the first aid kit. A lot of people like to build their own just because some of the pre-made ones don't come with everything that they need. But what I did is I bought this because it comes with a nice little zip-up case, and then I started adding things to it. Then, of course, your toilet paper, your wet wipes, and your trowel. This is actually one of my favorite things that I have in my backpack. It's called Life Straw. You take the bottom top off and the top, and you just stick it right in any water source, and you can drink right from any water source. It'll filter it right through here. This will last you about 3 years, so it's very, very useful. This is actually another water filtration system, but it's a little bit more complex. It's actually to fill up your Camelback or any water bottles that you may have. This is a little easier. You can actually siphon some of the water from your water source and then run it through the filter using one of these bags. I also carry iodine pills. This is to make sure that you absolutely don't have any pathogens or anything that can make you sick inside of your water. And I'll make a video about water filtration in the future, but right now, this is what's in my pack. These are actually my utensils. This is a nice little plastic pack. I know, again, some of the ultralight backpackers just throw chopsticks in their backpack, but I like to have a fork and a spoon and maybe a knife, depending on what I'm eating. And it's super light too, so it's not really adding that much to my pack. Then there's obviously the toothbrush, because personal hygiene is very important. I also carry these little soap pads. They're very thin soap, and all you have to do is add water and you have soap. So you can wash your hands. Again, ultralight backpackers won't carry this, but before I eat, I always like to wash my hands. So that's what these are for. Now, I live in Florida and mosquito repellent is an absolute must. You cannot have a comfortable camping trip without these. This is one of my favorite devices for mosquito repellent. It's called the Thermacell, and it works very, very well. And of course, I have my assortment of mosquito repellents. I have the Off, and I also have the Repel 100, which is actually my favorite. You have to be careful with this though, because it'll eat up some of your plastics. So you don't want to spray it on plastic. It'll eat up your sunglasses or it'll eat up your backpack. You just have to be very careful where you spray this. Now for lighting and fire, I have quite a few things. I have some cotton balls that I can use as tinder. I have some lighters. I have some waterproof matches in a waterproof container. And I have my Bear Grylls fire starter. Now, I always carry hand warmers with me. These things are really good, especially when you're hiking in the winter time. They keep you warm and they're super light. They don't take up that much room in your backpack. Now, this is optional, but I like to carry it with me because I carry a lot of cables and a lot of batteries and things. So I have this little waterproof bag that Velcros, so it keeps everything nice and dry. Now, any Floridian will tell you this is an absolute necessity. You don't want to be taking on and off your boots every time you go in and out of your tent, so flip-flops are very handy to have with you. Now we're going to jump down here to the flashlights. I actually always carry around 2 just in case one of them dies. So I have my main flashlight and then a backup flashlight with some extra batteries. I also like to carry around my headlamp because it's just easier to walk around at night, especially if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. It's easier just to carry the headlamp with you. And lastly, I like to carry around this waterproof bag, which I also use as a bear bag. So all of this food actually goes in that bag and it gets hung up about 50 to 100 yards from my campsite. That way it keeps away raccoons and bears and things that are scavenging in the middle of the night, and you don't want to wake up with no food. So that's pretty much everything I pack into my backpack every time I go hiking and camping. Obviously, depending on what weather and what environment I'll be in, I'll leave some things out or put some extra things in, like extra food or extra water, depending on the length of the trip. But other than that, this is pretty much it. It's hard to believe that all of this stuff fits inside of this backpack, but I'll show you exactly how I do that. So the first thing I like to do when I'm packing my backpack is to put in the sleeping bag inside the sleeping bag container, which is in the front. That just adds a little bit more stability, so the backpack is not falling over when you're trying to pack it. Now before I close off that, I usually like to keep my toilet paper and my wipes in this container also because it's just more accessible. I don't want it to be on the bottom of the pack whenever I need to go. So I just add it to this and then I close it. Now the backpack is going to sit nice and straight when you start packing it. The rule of thumb is to keep all of the heaviest stuff near the center of your back and as close to your back as possible. A lot of backpacks have a back support, but I still like to keep everything heavy closer to you so that way it's not wobbling back and forth whenever you're hiking. So that being said, the first thing to go is the tent. Now again, this is going to take the majority of your space inside of your backpack. So what you need to do is start taking some of the more heavier things and start putting them around the tent, but it's still as close as you can to your back. And of course we have the stove, which has the propane tank inside of it, so it's pretty heavy. So I want that as close to my back as possible. Now what I'll do with the smaller food, like the jerky and the Cliff Bars and the smaller snack things, I like to keep them all in one place. That way they're not all floating around inside your backpack. So I just stick them all inside this bag and then I'll stick the bag inside. And these food packets, they fold up and they scrunch up. You just have to be careful you don't pop them. I like to keep my Thermacell in a separate bag, and that's because I don't want this chemical that comes on these pads to get on everything else inside the bag, so I'll usually stick it inside of a Ziploc. And that's pretty much it for the main compartment. I'm gonna go ahead and zip this up, and then we can start packing the side pockets. So what I like to do is I like to leave all of the things that I need accessible, like the mosquito repellent, fire starter, hand warmers, water purifier, flashlights, everything that I'm gonna need on a moment's notice, I like to keep on the side pockets. That way it's a little bit more accessible and I don't have to go digging through it in the main compartment. So on one side, I like to do all of the water stuff. So everything that has to do with water. all goes in there. Also the utensils, the toothbrush, anything that has to do with sanitation, all goes in the same compartment. And on the other side, I like to put the hand warmers, the trowel, anything for fire starting, and also the first aid kit. Here, I like to put my flip-flops. Now this compartment here is pretty big, so I like to keep all of the stuff that I absolutely need. And of course, the water cover for the backpack needs to be really accessible, because if it does start raining on a moment's notice, you need to be able to cover your backpack and protect your things from getting wet. So I keep that one at the very top. So this is my pack, and that's how I pack it. Obviously yours is gonna differ depending on your needs. If you need something a little lighter, something a little heavier, depending on the length of the trip, this is just how I do it. Links for everything that I have in here are always in the description down below. And they're my Amazon links, so if you guys decide to buy some of those things, I get a small cut of that back, and it helps out the channel. If I forgot anything or if I left anything out, please leave a comment in the section down below. It really helps me out. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys next time.